Good day. My name is Michael Korn. Seems about every 7 to 10 years I do a videotape of some of the magic that I've been working on, which follows. Hope you enjoy it. Just a very brief bit of background. I just wanted to thank first the magical fraternity for the friendship and the camaraderie that I've had and all the enjoyment doing magic through the years. I don't plan on stopping. I'm 64 years old, currently living in Delray Beach, Florida. I moved down from New Jersey 17 years ago. However, I'm getting ready for a translocation out to the West Coast, out to Portland, Oregon soon. So it just seemed like an apt time to put some of my thoughts out for the record. Just very briefly, my background: I remember Mecca Magic in East Orange, New Jersey when I was a little kid. Remember Professor Ted Collins doing behind the back classic forces multiple times to me and just being really blown away. Didn't know how that was possible. Hung around there. Finally got over to Tannen's, Lieutenant's in New York City for my first time. Saw a demonstrator behind the counter doing McDonald's Aces, which just blew me away. I thought it was the greatest trick in the world. Purchased that. Came back, got Harry Lorraine's Close-Up Card Magic and Expert Card Technique. Started going through those books. Saw Derek Dingle on Tom Snyder's Tonight Show. Realized he lived maybe about 20-25 minutes away. Gave him a phone call, asked if he gave lessons. He agreed. Very fair price, multiple hours of time. He would just sit down and expose virtually everything on how things were done. This is the first time I had seen card magic live and up close, 2-3 feet away, all the things that I've read in the book. So he's been my mentor, really my inspiration, and a large influence in how I handle cards, even with the clicking and the flicking. It just seems to be my style as well. I spent some time with Mike Skinner when he would come over to the Golden Nugget in Atlantic City. Again, gave some lessons, a great guy. Also some influence in me and in my pacing when I'm doing some close-up and etc. Beyond that, Darwin Ortiz, I got to give a shout out because when I first saw him years back do the pinky count and the double push-off, I said I got to learn how to do that, which fortunately I was able to do through the years and I've done that. After that, the New York cafeteria crowd, after Tannen's closed on Saturdays, I spent time with Ken Krenzel and Gene Mays, and Harry Lorraine was there, and Jeff Latta, and a lot of guys hung out there. I was also very fortunate to first be able to introduce Michael Skinner and Jeff Latta together for their first meeting at the cafeteria, and that was an amazing session. I still remember some of the effects to this day. It was quite unbelievable. I moved down to South Jersey after that. Mark D'Souza became a very good friend and a mentor. He had the D'Souza Lending Library, which was an incredible resource to be able to dig down and find some more obscure things as well as the most recently published things as well. And beyond that, after I moved to South Florida, I moved to Delray Beach about 17 years ago. A while back I worked with Bill Malone over at the Boca Hotel and Resort at his magic bar. Met some great magicians and people down there. Started my own company called People Stoppers. I did some trade show magic for a while. By the way, nothing that you see on the tape to follow. It was in my professional repertoire. Is entirely different magic to bring people over to trade shows, product launches, hospitality suites, etc. And then after that, I did a little bit of riffle shuffle work, frankly. That was about 7 years ago. I'm going to give you a link to some of my riffle shuffle work. I'm looking at it today. I don't remember how virtually any of it was done. I know that it was heavily influenced by Bob King's breather crimp work, and so that was kind of cool. And hope you enjoy what you see. Got any tips, thoughts, comments? I'd love to hear from you. And it's been my pleasure. Thank you, guys. Derek Dingle's Through and Through, which utilizes, in my case, a jumbo bicycle playing card. It's a 3 of diamonds. There's no trapdoors or hidden compartments, just a jumbo card. And in addition, we're going to use 4 spades, 4 spade cards. They're actually going to be sequential: the ace, the 2, the 3, and the 4 of spades. And these cards are going to travel from the deck, from the center of the deck. They'll land on the top of the playing card. They're going to go to the bottom of the playing card, and they're going to join some of their friends down here on the table invisibly. Hopefully I'll show you exactly what I mean. The 4 of spades will remain face up thusly. The 3 of spades I will place face down here. The ace of spades will be face up here, and the 2 of spades will be face down, and it'll start in the center of the pack. It'll go to the top, it'll go to the bottom of the pack while you can't see it, and join the ace of spades over here. The 2 will start again from approximately, not exactly the center, but approximately the center of the pack, and we'd give a little shake, and 1 card and 1 card only has come by. That is, in fact, the 2 of spades. Now the 3 does the same trick as the 2. I'll show you what I mean. We take the 3 of spades, we put it about in the center of the pack, and again, that's not exactly the center, but close. We give a little shake, and nothing, in fact, is on the top. A 6 of hearts, there's nothing down here at the bottom, but if we look under here now, in fact, there is 1 card, and 1 card only, the 3 of spades, leaving us just the 4. The 4 is going to travel from the bottom to the top and join the 1, the 2, and the 3. The 4 of spades will start about in the center of the pack, and one last time, a little shake, and 1 card and 1 card only comes through. That should in fact be the 4 of, yes, the 4 of spades. Thank you very much. This is the method for Derek Dingle's universal card that was originally shown to me by him. Richie Kaufman in his write-up didn't do it this way, but this is the way that it was originally shown to me. So we have 3 cards that are selected, 3 cards that are returned to the pack. The spectator on my right picks number 3, the spectator number 2. In the center, that's the 2 of clubs, and the spectator on my left, that's the ace of clubs, and these are just the Hofsens or culls. And I've taken the liberty of leaving 1 card up at the top. That card is in fact the joker. The joker is often called the wild card, so I just flick it like that. Sometimes it'll look like your card, spectator number 1, the ace of clubs. Perhaps it's an illusion, so I just snap it. Typically it'll just look like a joker. Spectator number 2, if I just give a little snap like that, you'll see that it in fact looks like your card. And spectator number 3, if I just give a little snap, I can put you back in that state where you think is a joker, the wild card. Or if I just give a little snap again, you can see that in fact it looks like your card. A little tickle on the corner like that, and it does in fact look back like the joker. And typically we would just stick that back in the center of the pack like that, and that's the end of the trick. Derek would often just take the cards and reach into his crotch or something like that and just pull out the ace, 2, and the 3 as well. Derek Dingle's universal card using Marlo's bot top and hit top changes. This is the close-up for Derek Dingle's Impromptu wild card, where the joker is at the top of the pack. 3 cards are selected and they're brought to the bottom. We'll use the ace, the 2, and the 3 for spectator number 1, 2, and 3. And it's really in the broad panorama of gesturing and moving and turning between the different spectators that the changes are made. But so close-up's a bit out of context, but for the bot top change, I'm basically just getting ready with a bottom deal. This card goes in flush, and the left hand does a wrist kill while the right hand remains totally still, and that is in fact the change. So I'll do it for you again. Joker's being flicked, spectator number 1. Perhaps that looks like your card. And then we go into the hit top change, the same thing, just under 2 cards. And it'll turn back. I'll take that back to the ace again. Doing a flick, and now I'm just getting a break. replacing. Left hand does a wrist kill during the flick, and then I'm ready to go back into the bot top change for spectator number 2's card. And then we just do the hit top change to change it one more time. I'm getting ready for spectator number 3's card, little flick. And that changes as well, and then we can go back into the joker. Palm off on the top, later. Derek Dingle's Collectors, I'm going to try to do it up here on the table so that you can see what it looks like a little closer up. 3 cards are touched by 3 different spectators from the top, from the middle, and from the bottom of the deck. These cards are remembered by those spectators. Number 1, would you please remember that card? Spectator number 2, would you remember your card? And spectator number 3, would you remember your card? I'm going to leave your cards right here on the table for safekeeping just for a little while. I don't know what your cards are. I do know that they're not one of the aces, because the aces were sitting here on the tabletop before you selected your cards. I'm going to tell you ahead of time, the aces are going to find your cards after we replace them in the deck, but they're going to do it in a very unusual manner. So what I'd like you to do is just at least remember that the color order of the cards are black, red, red, and black. That way when you see them again, you'll know that they're in that same order. And we're going to take your 3 selected cards, and in the time-honored fashion of a magician, we'll place them back into the pack. We're going to place one very near the top, one very near the center, and the last card very near the bottom. We're going to push them flush. I won't shuffle, I'll just let them stay where they are. The aces will do all the work. Watch carefully, it goes quickly. They will go down into the deck, they will come back up to the top of the deck, and they will have collected 3 cards, but not just any cards, 3 special cards. Spectator number 1, your card was the 8 of hearts, and spectator number 2, I think yours came all the way to the top, the 3 of clubs, and that would leave just one last card, the joker. Spectator number 3 picked the joker. Thank you. This is my version of Derek Dingle's crystallize coins up the sleeve. That's one of my favorite coin tricks. It uses 1, 2, 3 50-cent pieces, 3 flying eagles, and a glass. And I'm going to attempt to get these flying eagles to actually fly by, first of all, coming up my sleeve, across my chest, down around, and even with rolled up sleeves, invisibly transport over. That's 1 coin that's come across, and that leaves just 2 coins to go. That'll join the first coin in the glass. Watch the second flying eagle fly through the air and come back across, leaving just 1 eagle to go. That'll start here. It's going to travel up, down, around, across. It's going to actually jump inside my pocket, jump back out, and join the other coins over here. Remember, this coin will start over here, and it'll join these 2 flying eagles on the count of 1, 2, 3. The 3 flying eagles. My handling of Derek Dingle's Too Many Cards. It uses just 5 cards sequentially. The ace, 2, 3, 4, and the 5. So the ace is on the top, the 5 will be on the bottom, and I'm going to take the ace, I'm going to put it somewhere down into the center of the packet, and you see, I don't know if you saw it, it comes right back up to the top. I'll do it for you again. The ace goes down into the packet, right back up to the top. Now the 2 will do the exact same thing that the ace did. I'm going to take the 2, I'll place it down into the packet, and the 2 as well jumps right up to the top. Now the 3 does a little bit different trick than the ace and the 2. I'm going to leave him face down. I'll see if I can make him turn face up without you seeing me. Well, you see, actually it's still face down, but let me do it for you one more time in the center. There we go. And then it turns face up. Now that leaves just the 4 and the 5. The 4 will go on top of the 5. I'll place it beneath the 5. And the 4 jumps right back up to the top, leaving just, it's kind of a silly trick. I couldn't quite figure out what to do with that last card. This is my handling of card warp, highly influenced by Derek Dingle's version of the Roy Walton effect. I get into it by using Darwin Ortiz's idea of having a deck of cards with all different backs from different decks that I've practiced with in the past. I have a card touched up near the top. Those are typically, in my case, a red card. and I just spread through, show all the cards are different. I touch the back of one here. I typically have a blue card touched, and that's how I get into card warp. So I start off with 2 cards, one red and one blue. And we've got an 8 of clubs and a 2 of hearts. So if this were a blackjack hand, it probably wouldn't be the best hand, an 8 and a 2. It'd be a 10, maybe it probably would be a great hand. I mean, most people would probably go ahead and take a card. But I'm going to show you something a little bit different that really doesn't pertain too much to blackjack. For now, I'm going to take the 8 of clubs. I'll leave it right here, but I'll take the 2 and fold it as carefully as I can across the length of the 2. So we'll have a 2 of hearts folded longitudinally. The 8 of clubs, the red-backed 8 of clubs, I will fold across the width of the card horizontally. I'm going to take both cards, I'm going to start to rub them together. I'm going to start to create some friction. Friction creates heat. Heat accelerates the molecules of the cardboard. Now Derek, he would always do it this way, because if you knew Derek, that's how he would do it. The better way to do it is to just rub the cards until there's friction, and then I can open out both cards. Let's just confirm the faces of both cards of the 2 and the 8, they're facing up, and the backs of both cards, they'll be facing down. The only card to really keep your eye on, however, is the 2 of hearts. I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to turn the cards over. Keep your eye on the 2. It's right here, all times. I'm going to cast a shadow and just say the special words, supercalcivangelistic, expert hocus pocus. And as I push the 2 of hearts through, I can feel it start to twist so that the back of the 2 of hearts is now showing on both sides. I'll do it for you one more time. Keep your eye on the 2 right here. I'm going to turn them over one more time, and I'll do it for you with one hand. Watch as I push the 2 through. You can see it. I can feel it twist around so that the 2 of hearts is now facing outward on both sides. For the finale, one last time, up at my fingertips so I can't do any monkey business, I'll stop the transformation about halfway. Check it out, the 2 of hearts, it stopped changing, half face up and half face down. The mystery of the 2 of hearts. This is Derek Dingle's version of a Larry Jennings trick that was known as Impromptu wild card. And it wasn't easy to learn in the beginning. I don't know why I went through all that. Actually, I've got some cards in my back pocket. It was about a dream that I had with 8 cards. I was playing head-to-head poker with a guy with just 8 cards, and flushes were good, of course, and straights were good. The highest you could really have was well, 4 aces would be pretty awesome. But the cards that I were playing with, fortunately, his jokers were wild in the game that I was playing in. And I looked at my opponent's first card, and that looked like to me like it was a king of clubs. And then the second card he had was the king of hearts, and then he had the king of diamonds, and of course the king of spades. And I liked that king, so I figured I'd keep it for myself at the bottom of my packet, because the first card I looked at was an ace of clubs, and then I looked at an ace of hearts, and then I had the ace of diamonds, and last but not least I had the ace of spades, which went with the other card that I was holding on to, the king of spades. And I was showing this to the guy, and he said, "What were those cards you showed me?" And I said, "Well, that was the king of spades." He said, "It looks like a joker to me." And I said, "Well, jokers are wild." And he said, "No, they're not." I said, "Well, in my dream they were, and that was the king that went with these kings over here." He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Yeah, these were the other 3 kings that went with this king." And he said, "What about these cards?" I said, "Well, those are my aces, the diamonds, the clubs, and the hearts." And we said, "What about that last joker?" I said, "Jokers are wild. There's the ace of spades." It was my dream, so I won. It uses 3 English pennies. I'd like you to take a look at these. There's Queen Elizabeth on one side, there's Britannia, goddess of the ocean, on the other. And what I'd like you to do is help me by holding out your hand perfectly flat. Don't clench it into a fist. Hold out your hand flat, because I'm going to try to make these coins travel one at a time from my hand to your hand. There's coin number 1, and there's coin number 2, and there's coin number 3, one at a time from my hand to your hand. Now I know that really wasn't very magical. I'll try it for you again in a little bit more magical fashion. But as long as you can see the 3 coins, and you can feel my palm, you can feel my fingers, watch carefully. The first coin, as it travels totally across, there's nothing hidden in the front, there's nothing hidden in the back, just 2 coins. Remember, the coin is going to travel from here to over here, from here to over here, and join the one in your hand. Watch the next coin travel magically up across into your hand as if by magic. You've got 3 coins. I'm going to take one away, leaving you with 2. Close your hand into a fist, turn it over, don't move. This last coin is going to travel from this hand over here as I hold onto his wrist. And join the 2 that you have in your hand. Go. How many coins do you have? 1, 2, 3. This is a version of Card on Forehead that was shown to me by Dingle. I don't know that I've ever seen it in print before. And I think it's his, but I know he showed it to me. That I know for sure. It's under the guise of explaining and teaching a card trick to somebody after you've done some card tricks. And what you're going to do is shuffle deck. Doesn't matter. You're going to just dribble the cards until they say stop. When they say stop, I'm just going to put the joker there. They say stop. I tell them, look, I've got to look at the card that's next to the card that you selected. I've got to remember the 4 of clubs when you're taking your card. They take their card. Now what I want you to do is show the card around everybody. Look at it, remember it. Put it back. And you've got to put it back in the exact same spot right next to the 4 of clubs so that we'll know where to find that card if we see it again. And of course you've palmed off the card back up onto the forehead. So I'm not sure how the camera is seeing that. We'll show it one more time. The cards are dribbled. And I tell them, I've got to remember the card that's next to that card. I've got to remember the 4 of clubs as they take out their card. Now you're going to do a very simple pass, and this is a great way to practice the pass. You're just going to hold a break, and you're going to say, show your card around everybody. Or you're going to say, look at and remember your card. Put your card back, it's got to be in the exact same spot, right next to the 4 of clubs. That way I can remember where your card is in the center of the pack. And then of course you can palm off your cards. I got a couple extra on that. So I'll do it for you one more time. His version, cards on the forehead, it always fooled. Card is selected, they dribble, they say stop anytime they want. You say, that's the card you stop me at. I've got to remember the card next to the card that you're thinking. So I've got to lock in my mind the 4 of clubs. And go ahead, take your card, show it around everybody, or look at it, remember it. You've got to put it back in the exact same spot, and that way I know that the 4 of clubs, you're doing the pass again, goes right on top of your card, and that way I think you get the rest of it, right? One of my favorite card tricks with the 4 aces, the ace of spades and the ace of clubs and the ace of hearts and the ace of diamonds. Now each one of the aces, and in particular the suits, they stand for different things. Like the ace of diamonds, that stands for money, power, wealth. It's a diamond, so the ace of diamonds is a powerful card. The ace of hearts, that stands for love, emotions, and romance. It's got a heart, so that one's kind of easy to remember as well. The ace of clubs, that stands for work, for energy, for power. It's a tool, it's an implement. And then of course you've got the leader ace, the ace of spades, for the other 3 aces. So I'm just going to use the 4 aces, nothing more, nothing less. And the only ace you really have to remember is the one at the bottom, the ace of spades. What I'll do is I'll bring it up to the top to make it easier for you to follow. Keep your eye on that card, the ace of spades, because it is the leader ace. And what that means is if I take it and I put it to the bottom of the pack, it wants to come up to the top. If I count it down to the bottom of the packet, it just wants to come back up to the top. If I put it into the center of the packet, it just wants to come back up to the top. So sometimes it's confusing using just 4 of the aces. I'll get rid of one of them. But you see, when I snap my fingers, the ace of spades, it likes to come back. If I put it to the bottom, it'll come back up to the top, or if I put it to the bottom, it'll come back up to the top. And sometimes it's confusing because there's 3 cards. If I get rid of 1 and just do it with 2, sometimes that's a little bit easier, but in fact the ace of spades, it'll still come up to the top, and no matter where you put it, it seems like the ace of spades is kind of like everywhere. The only logical explanation is that there are 4 cards that are identical, and there's one 10 of hearts, and there's the second 10 of hearts, and right here's the third 10 of hearts, and there's the fourth 10 of hearts. So people always think that that's kind of cool if you can show 4 cards that were aces of spades, and now they're all 10 of hearts. How do you do that? I said, the cool part is just using 4 cards. I mean, how do you explain this? That, look, there's one king, and here's a second king, and there's a third king, and there's the fourth king. I mean, I'm not really sure how you'd explain something like that with, just the 4 aces. This is my handling of Cartes Diaconis as the general card. And I would have 3 cards selected at random. To make it easier, we'll use spectator number 1 chooses the ace of clubs, which goes back into the pack. Spectator number 2 chooses the 2 of clubs, which goes back into the pack. And spectator number 3, on my right, he chooses the 3 of clubs, just to make it sequential so that's easier for us to follow. 3 cards are in fact selected. Give the cards a little bit of a mix and shuffle up the cards. And my job, of course, is to find where your card is in this shuffled up pack of cards. And it would be amazing if after all the shuffling that we were to find the top 3 cards to be in fact your 3 cards. That would be close to a miracle. So spectator number 1, are any of these 3 cards your cards? He will say no. And then I would show them again to spectator number 2, are any of these 3 cards your card? He would say no. And I call spectator number 3 over and show him the 3 cards, and he says no, none of those are his cards. So in fact I have 3 cards, none of which is anybody's card, so I'll have to use a little bit of legerdemain. And spectator number 1, is that your card? Are you sure it's not your card? Spectator number 2, is that your card? Spectator number 3, is that your card? Of course they'll say no. Spectator number 1, the name of your card was the ace of clubs. Spectator number 2, did you choose the joker? Or spectator number 3, no, but the jokers are often wild. Spectator number 2, the name of your card was the 2 of clubs, and spectator number 3, you chose the 3 of clubs. So, la carte générale. So let's take out the ace of spades. That'll be the chosen card. Nice and easy, right up at the top. From a deck that's been in play. And let's say that a card has in fact been selected, and it's returned roughly to the center of the pack. And I'll typically say, I know a couple of things about your card. I mean, I know that you selected a card and it's somewhere around the center of the pack. I also know that if I asked you to shuffle the cards, you'd probably, hopefully, you'd give them a nice little, friendly shuffle, something like that. Because the last guy that I asked to do this, he took half the pack and he left it face up, and he put half the pack and he left it face down. And then he went ahead and he actually shuffled those cards together before I could even stop him. You can see there was a whole mishmash of cards. Some were face up and some were face down. And I realized, I'm in trouble here. I mean, I've got some cards that are face up, they're back to back, they're back to face. How do I get out of something like this? And I remember there was an old shake move that I had learned when I was in card school that would turn all the cards around face up, with the exception of one card that would remain face down, but not just any card. I mean, that card would have had to have been the ace of spades. This is my handling of a Bill Goodwin trick. It's great when the aces are already out on the table and in play. Card is selected and touched on the back. I do Marlo's tilt glimpse to get the suit. I'm going to look at it now, it's 8 of clubs, but I know that it's a club. We'll leave that card right there. Now, I don't know a lot about your card. I mean, the cards aren't marked. I know it's not one of the aces because the aces were sitting here on the table before you selected your card. But let's put your card back into the center of the pack. So if you would be kind enough, please, put that back right about here. And very fairly, it goes about into the center of the pack. And I'm going to show you a really cool move that I learned when I was in card school. It's a move that'll accomplish basically 3 different things. First, let me show you what the move looks like. It's kind of a jiggle type of move. It looks like that, and that's all it really accomplishes, except that one of the aces will turn face down. So we've got the ace of hearts, spades, diamonds, so the clubs is down, which would mean that the card that you selected was in fact a club. And that was the first thing it did. The second thing that it did was it actually reversed one card. It's going the opposite way, right about in the center where you selected your card. And that was the second thing that it did. What was the name of your card? Oh my goodness, that's the ace of clubs. Well, I said it did 3 things. This card over here, the 8 of clubs, that must be your card, the eight of clubs. Very cool. This is one of the variations of ace assemblies that I've used throughout the years. It uses the 4 aces, and it uses 12 additional cards. There are no tricky backs or tricky faces or anything like that, just 12 cards and the 4 aces. And we're going to pretend that we've got a little poker hand we're playing. I'm going to show you the 4 aces one at a time. There's the ace of hearts and the ace of diamonds and the ace of clubs, and then we've got the leader ace, the ace of spades. And we'll put the aces out in a row, and the ace of spades, the leader ace, we'll put behind it like that. Now we've got the 12 cards, and I'm going to take 3 cards, I'm going to place 3 cards on top of each of the aces, so we each have like a little poker hand, and I'm going to show you one at a time the faces of all the cards that are going on top of the aces, so that you know that there are no duplicate aces, meaning extra aces. There's no trick cards where there's cards that have funny faces, or cards that have funny backs. What I will attempt to do is to have the aces that are at the bottom of these packets come over and join the ace of spades one at a time, invisibly and in slow motion. And that's what the first ace actually looked like. It didn't hopefully look like too much, but that ace has in fact left the packet. It has come over and joined the ace of spades, giving me a pair of aces, the ace of clubs. And the first red ace is the next one to go, maybe invisibly? Well, let's see. If in fact, yes, that ace is now gone as well. And that would give me triple aces, trip aces with the ace of diamonds coming across. And last but not least, that quickly, the last ace has in fact gone, leaving just the ace of spades, clubs, diamonds, and hearts. Now, one other variation of ace assemblies that I've used for quite a long time, again, uses 12 and different cards. This sequence is just a little bit different than the original opening sequence. However, I'm going to use the same 4 aces in exactly the same order: hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades. Hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades. And I'll put those out as I did before: hearts, diamonds, clubs, and the ace of spades. So we'll lay those out. The spades will be the leader ace for these other 3 cards. And I'm going to take 3 cards and I'm going to place them on top of each one of the aces. And once again, I'm going to have them travel one at a time from the bottom of these little poker hands over to join the master ace, the ace of spades. And I can do them one at a time, or I can do them together. Together looks something like that, with spades, hearts, diamonds, and clubs coming across. This is one of the opening routines that I've had a lot of fun with and success with over the years. It uses an ordinary deck of cards. All the backs are the same. The faces, they're all different, so you can tell one from the other. And I've actually taken the liberty of leaving a couple cards here at the face of the pack. Actually, not just any cards. I've taken out 8 cards. I'm going to show you the 4 queens in a moment. And also, I'm going to introduce to you the 4 kings. There's Barry, Benny, Bobby, and Bruce, the 4 King brothers. They were attracted to the ladies that they had met up online. They wanted to meet them, and it was actually a blind date, so they reserved the 4 corner tables at a lovely downtown restaurant, thinking that they could impress Danielle and Debbie and Donna and Dixie. Now, if there was a match, some compatibility, there would be a heart with a heart, a spade with a spade. I mean, there's 4 different types of people here. And so unfortunately, they just went by first looks and outward appearances, which might not have been the best idea, because ultimately what happened at the end of the evening was that, well, there was a club with a heart, so they weren't compatible. There was a diamond with a club, and likewise these two couples didn't match up either. So unfortunately for the King brothers, at the end of the evening, the queens, Danielle and Debbie and Donna and Dixie, got together by themselves. I think they went off and played some cards, leaving just the King. Well, you know what? Let me show you something a little bit nicer with just the 4 aces. From that point on, just depends where I feel like going, a little bit of free-form riff, but now that we've got the 4 aces in play, I'm going to ask you to be the guardian of the aces. I'm going to give you the 4 aces and ask you to put your hand on top of them and guard them securely, because I'm going to try to take cards from the deck and exchange them for the cards that are underneath your hand while you're holding on to them. And I'll show you what it looks like, something like that. I mean, that is in fact the ace of spades. We'll take another card out of the pack and just give a little tickle, and there in fact is the ace of hearts. So we've had the ace of spades and we have the ace of hearts. I'm going to take one other card and a little magiche, and there is the spades, the hearts, the clubs, and we'll take one other card. We'll use the King of Diamonds. Watch carefully as the King of Diamonds changes into the Ace of Diamonds. And actually, I've left you a pretty good hand in case we were playing poker together. You see there are in fact the 4 jacks. You can see I've left you, in fact, the 4 jacks. Not bad. It reminds me of the 4 jacks of when I was first learning card tricks and card magic, because the jacks, there was an old trick where they were called the burglars. The jacks, the 4 jacks were the burglars, and the rest of the deck of cards was like a big fancy hotel that the jacks would try to invade. And I'll show you exactly what it looked like. The first jack, he was a pickpocket, so he liked to hang out in the lobby. The second jack, he was a master thief, so he hung out really with housekeeping so he could break into room safes. The third jack, he was a con man. He kind of hang out near the penthouse. And the fourth jack, the jack of spades, he was the sentry. He would keep watch, and when he gave that type of signal, the jacks would come right back up to the top of the building so they could get out. And I do need to show you that. I mean, there's no other look-alike jack cousins or brothers or anything like that. I mean, the cards, those are the only jacks in the pack. Fortunately for the hotel, they did have security cameras, and so they could play it back in slow motion, and they would actually be able to see the 4 jacks go into the building in slow motion. They saw the pickpocket go in. They saw the guy that was working with housekeeping. They saw the con man up near the penthouse suites, and of course they always kept an eye on the sentry on top, but they still could not determine how in fact those guys got right back up to the top of the building and were able to escape. They did send out some of their best law enforcement police, and after they had escaped, they got a bunch of witnesses together, and they put together a little lineup of people. Let me see if I can do this down low, sorry about that. A lineup of different people, and the witnesses, they really couldn't tell which one of the thieves were thieves and which one were just ordinary people that were in the lobby. It was difficult to tell. And once they had escaped into the city, the police didn't know if they were uptown or they were midtown, Lower East Side or downtown. The only thing that they knew is that they'd have to call it a special precinct. Name any number between 1 and 10. So let's say they pick 3. So we'll go, okay, 1, 2, 3. The 33rd precinct will be able to, well, hang on. Let me put those jacks right back up on top so that if the precinct is coming along, they'll be able to find those jacks. They were master thieves. Often what they would do is go down into a hotel, maybe not as popular a hotel. There was the pickpocket, the jack of diamonds, and the other jacks, and actually even the sentry would go back into the pack, the hotel, and they would rob and they would con and they would cheat. But the funny thing is, when they had to get back out, they would come right back up to the top and escape. It wasn't until much later that they found that the jacks were actually coming in the back door. They were coming in through food services. They were coming in through laundry. They were coming in disguised as IT security people, and even the sentry would wear costumes on occasion. It was how that they got back up to the top all the time and were able to escape and elude the police that was really the trickiest part of all. I'll leave them right about in the center of the pack. And what I'm going to do is just give the pack one cut. That's okay. And I'm going to ask you to shuffle the pack any way that you like. And of course, if we put the jacks back up on top, it'll be a little bit easier for you to find them.